right, guys, welcome back. It's fantasy season again, and I'm the Kodiak, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host Eric. Say what's up to everyone.
Yeah, fantasy season ramping up, mock draft season, season-long leagues fired up.
Yeah, there's really nothing better than this late August, early September part of like football when it's just the anticipation of how good your fantasy team's going to be, how much you're going to whoop your dad's ass in your fantasy league, or yeah, just in general, waiting to see how good your NFL team is going to be. Unfortunately, the Broncos are going to suck this year, but yeah. So, what do you like about this part of the year in particular?
Yeah, I think it's just like you said, the excitement.
Hmm.
Drafting's just really fun. You just picking players you like, hoping other people don't pick them,
Hmm.
and yeah, it sets up the whole fantasy season. And it's an important time of the year too, because while you can't necessarily win a fantasy championship based solely off your draft, you have to stay up with it in the season and stuff. You can definitely lose a fantasy season in the draft. We did this video last year. That team probably would have lost during the draft, and I don't even think I made bad picks. They were pretty justified.
Hmm.
But looking back on it, Kittle injury, CMC injury, Galladay injury, Chark injury. It would have been a tough year for that team. And I think I had some good picks at the end with Judy and Jefferson,
Hmm.
Gibson, but it just shows you even good drafts can turn out really poorly.
Yeah, and me personally, I had Kelsey and Kamara, so I probably would have won everything. No, I'm kidding, because the team behind him wasn't that good. But so what we're doing today is we're doing a mock draft. So this is one QB, one PPR. So, and this is actually not three wide receiver, although I mean, it doesn't really matter. This will be the same strategy if it is three wide receiver or two wide receiver. Not a big deal, but we're not playing with kickers or defenses either. So we did random number generators. I am drafting from the 1-4 like I did last year, and Eric is drafting from the 1-11. So he's got. I kind of like the turn a little more than drafting early, and you're about to see why. But yeah, let's get this mock draft underway.
Let's get going.
So CMC, Dalvin, Saquon, pretty traditional. I'm gonna go with Derrick Henry here, and the reason being is because even though I love Alvin Kamara, who slipped to the 107, my God, I just think the risk with Alvin Kamara is way too high. We don't know how good that offense is going to be. It could be end up being pretty bad. But with Henry, even though he rushed for 2,000 yards last year and finished as the RB3 in PPR leagues, that he's just a safe bet. Honestly, like he's not going to bust unless he gets hurt.
Yeah, no, he's not. I'm surprised that Kamara was even on the table for you. And if I was there, I probably would have taken Kamara over Henry.
Hmm.
But I like the explanation of the safe pick.
Hmm.
McCaffrey, Cook don't require a ton of explanation in the front. But I've got a weird decision here. Most of the drafts I've seen,
Hmm.
Kelsey's off the table at this point.
Hmm.
Adams is off the table, and
Hmm.
I'm usually just taking two running backs I like.
Yeah.
Or not Kamara. Eckler's been a huge target of mine here, but you see him going at the 110. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna do something pretty atypical for me, and I'm gonna take a wide receiver in the first round.
Wow. And not only do you take a wide receiver in the first round, but this is probably the lowest I've seen Kelsey go all offseason. So you get Diggs and Jones in between you at the turn. So who are you hammering right here? Are you going to start the draft off with one wide receiver, one running back, and risk your first RB at the 311? Or are you going to go with the man who won tons of championships last year?
Yeah, a tough choice. Well, that would be the same thing. My first running back being the 311.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna. It's a really tough decision. The lowest I've seen Kelsey go. I would love him here if I took a running back. Jones and Kelsey would have been a good
Hmm.
matchup. I like Adams though,
Yeah.
probably more than Aaron Jones. He's just with Aaron Rodgers last year. I know both of them are posting weird stories on Instagram about it being the last dance. Adams might get 200 targets this year. Who knows? I just simply can't risk with my third round pick being so late. I can't risk going without a running back.
Hmm.
And the pick here for me is Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
The receiving upside is too great, and I just think they're going to use him maybe like a CMC diet CMC version over there in Washington.
Yep. And yep. So after this, Gibson, Mixon, Kelsey goes at the 2-4. In between that, we get Metcalf, Hopkins, Najee Harris, and Justin Jefferson. Here we have a few choices. We could either go A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, George Kittle, J.K. Dobbins, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or even Darren Waller. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a running back in hopes that Waller will fall back to me. Because even though I love Kittle as a player and as a person, I just don't think you can trust his play style to keep up with his body, if you know what I mean. Because he is a very violent tight end. He's almost like an extra lineman out there. But that doesn't turn into fantasy points. And usually the guys like Kelsey or Waller, who are, I'm not going to say one-dimensional in the tight end department, but usually those guys end up outscoring George Kittle. So now man, we got a lot of good choices here. You know what? Last time we tried to record this video, which ended up not working out due to various reasons, I ended up taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire here, and I had a pretty similar selection of players. But with Calvin Ridley, yeah, I would have taken him as high as, his ADP right now is mid-high second round. And I absolutely love Calvin Ridley. Even with Arthur Smith coming there, I think he's going to be an absolute beast. He's going to be not A.J. Brown reincarnated, but he could be the NFC South's version of A.J. Brown, where he just can break open the game at any moment. And he did that last year, even with Julio Jones on the field. He was a bona fide wide receiver one, even with Julio Jones on the same team. So I think I got to take him here, even though the value at wide receiver is something I don't love. I like to start off with two running backs, especially you see that Jacobs, Dobbins, CEH have all gone off the board. Yeah, I'm going ahead with Calvin Ridley. Okay, let's see. So we got Mahomes, we got A.J. Brown, Kittle, CEH. Do you have anything to comment on any of these players that just went?
Yeah, I like the Ridley pick.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty expected of who was going to go after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got a tough choice here. I would have liked if CEH or Dobbins fell to you in the third.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would have too. It's a tough choice with Swift, who's banged up. I personally, and you can go into your evaluation because it's your pick. I personally would probably still go Swift here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ridley pick, you got an RB that fell to you,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think the difference between those former rookies is all that different. I definitely wouldn't have taken Jacobs this high.
Me neither.
But yeah, there's no other Calvin Ridley this year. There really isn't,
Mm-hmm.
especially that late in a draft. So I think the pick was a good one.
Yeah. Now, normally I like to walk out of my drafts with at least two running backs in the first three rounds because they're so scarce and they naturally win championships because they move the needle more than wide receivers. But you look at what Darren Waller did last year, and I'm having a hard time passing up on him. Would I take DeAndre Swift here, even if he wasn't banged up? Yes, but also you have to consider Detroit is going to be horrible this year. Like lowest projected win total in the league, I'm sure, besides Houston, according to Vegas. So you know that Detroit is not going to be a good football team. They're not going to have any chances to score. And are you really, really, really going to run your rookie running back into the ground if you know that you're not going to win a lot of games? Personally, to me, that just sounds irresponsible. The other guy I would consider here is DeMont because he has virtually no competition in his backfield. He might succeed some of the receiving work, and I was shitting on DeMont all last year at this time, but you really can't argue with it. RB, what did he finish as? RB3, RB4 in PPR?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so while I don't love Montgomery, I don't love Montgomery, so what we're going to do is we're going to hit Darren Waller here, and I wholeheartedly believe in my heart that Waller 4 picks after Kittle is a better value than the opportunity cost.
Yeah, I can't trash that pick at all.
Mm-hmm.
Waller 3-4, definitely not a terrible pick.
Mm-hmm.
again, you said you would have liked to have gotten out of here with 2 running backs. Both of us might regret taking a running back when we could have. Me at the 111, you at the 209.
Yeah.
But those receivers, they're just built different there.
Yeah.
At those spots, and can't pass up on that opportunity.
Last year, the strategy was RB early, RB often. And while that was good and it makes sense, we had a lot of running backs bust last year. You think about CMC hurt, Saquon hurt. If you took Ezekiel Elliott high, he wasn't a bust, but he definitely did not produce the return you probably would have expected. Mixon was an absolute bust. CEH for where you drafted him was a bust. Jacobs was he finished as the RB8 in PPR, so that wasn't terrible, but still bust. Yeah.
Kenyan Drake, Miles Sanders, all guys you were targeting sort of end of the first, early the second.
Yeah, it just wasn't a pretty sight, and that's why you were seeing more and more people being comfortable with taking, guys like Devontae Adams and guys like Travis Kelce high.
Yeah, for sure. But I am going to return back to running back here, and I'm just going to take a guy at the end of the 3rd round. I think he's about as stable as you can get at the running back position, and that's going to be Chris Carson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think David Montgomery was the other pick for me here. He went a little bit more risky pick, and considering I have a sort of high risk, high reward running back with my 202, I took a wide receiver 111. Getting Chris Carson at the RB2, especially at the end of the 3rd when I think I value him more as a mid 3rd round pick. I think that's perfectly fine for any fantasy team and a good building block.
Mm-hmm. You're in a tough spot. You're in a tough spot here, man.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. The sleeper ADP is maybe not my favorite thing in the world, and I'm going to take someone who is not in the top however many picks, but it's someone who I like here, and that's going to be CeeDee Lamb.
Okay.
Amari Cooper ranked higher, Julio Jones ranked higher. They're both a little banged up, but not something we're worried about too much. I think Cooper is probably still the alpha, but he's also going to be matched up against alpha corners this year, and that Dallas passing offense, it's going to have enough volume for the both of them and more this year. Mm-hmm. And I think CD spending time in the slot, he has really, really, really good rack ability. He's just going to be a beast this year. And Cooper, with his injury concerns, he's going to fall to the wayside there at the 402 for me.
Yeah. Now, I'm kind of in a rough spot as well because you see guys like Travis Etienne right here, and I want literally nothing to do with Urban Meyer's Jaguars, at least in year 1, because we have literally no idea what that's going to look like. And, when he's still giving touches to Carlos Hyde, does that give you the highest level of confidence in a coaching staff? Most people would say no. We could take Kareem Hunt because I need an RB2 here, but I'm just not seeing anyone I'm liking here. It's a little too early for me for Javonte. It's a little too early. We already have Ridley, so I don't know if I'm really going to be taking Mike Davis. Am I regretting the Ridley pick? No, but I am kind of screwed as far as the running back department right now. Now, we have a few options. We could go. This is a little earlier than I've seen him go, but I am perfectly fine with reaching a little bit for someone who I absolutely think is going to be a game breaker, and that is Brandon Ayuk of the 49ers. Now, he has skyrocketed up boards this offseason, and I'm not sure if you would have taken him this early, but everything we have heard from the 49ers indicates that he is going to be, their yak guy, especially, Kittle can't stay healthy. Deebo Samuel's having a hard time staying on the field. And, once Trey Lance is the starter, I think it's going to be wheels up in San Francisco.
Yeah, I would take him that early, too. I'm equally as high on Ayuk as I think you are based on the pick.
Yeah.
You don't need to take him this high. That's the thing. You probably could have waited for the 504. I saw him literally go 5'11" in my super competitive, or I guess semi-competitive, just high stakes redraft league that I was partaking in this weekend. But yeah, Ayuk's a monster. I wasn't able to snag him. He fell to the 5'11", which is almost back for my 6th-round pick, and I'm going to take someone at the 5'6" turn if he's there, which he should be, who I like almost as much as Ayuk. But yeah, he's going to be the alpha in that offense. He's just good at every single thing you want a wide receiver to do.
Yeah.
And with Trey Lance, it's, as you said, wheels up in the 49ers offense.
Yeah. Now, I know exactly who you're talking about, but I'm not going to take that guy here because there's a lot of questions as far as, the Bengals. And that guy you're talking about, I know is T. Higgins. Is that not?
Yep, it is.
Yep. So lucky for you, I'm not really considering him right here. So we just need to hammer a running back because you saw with my dynasty team this year what happens if you wait too long. So our options are Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin, J-Rob, Javonte Williams, Mike Davis. It's Mike Davis and a bunch of Jags in the Atlanta backfield, but we already have Ridley, like I said. We don't already have Kareem Hunt, but there are questions about Kareem Hunt, and because his upside is limited. As long as Chubb and Hunt are still there, they are going to limit each other's upside. It's going to be fantastic for winning games, but I don't know if it's going to be best for fantasy. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So Travis Etienne went at the 4.11, and that is just outrageous to me. The RB7 last year was James Robinson, and even if he just gets the goal line work and the first and second down work, I'm still comfortable taking him here in the 5th round, even though it might be a little early. I'm not sure how much you like him at this ADP. But yeah, what do you think about J-Rob in the early 5th?
Yeah, I don't love him at the ADP. Don't necessarily hate him either. Your options weren't great for the exact reason you listed. I probably would have drafted Davis there, save for owning Calvin Ridley.
Yeah,
which you did. So yeah, good reasoning there to avoid him. And I don't love J-Rob there, but it is abysmal that ETN is ranked above him and going above him by in some cases full rounds. In a lot of drafts, ETN I've seen him go in the 3rd round, and James Robinson fall to the 7th in the same draft, which is completely ridiculous considering I draft Robinson. Again, question marks. You don't know who's exactly going to do what. I think Etienne's probably the more talented back.
Yeah,
but just based on last year, James Robinson should be going earlier, and not a lot earlier, maybe a few picks or so. But yeah, getting Robinson after Etienne. He's not the question mark. He needs to lose his job to get pushed out. And he's just, at this point from what we saw last year, he's too good to do that. So unless he gets hurt, which again, we can't predict, there's no reason he shouldn't be going ahead of his backfield mate there in Jacksonville.
Absolutely.
So I've got 2 running backs, 2 receivers. You were completely correct about T. Higgins. I'm going to wait until the 6:02, pending an absolute disaster for me. He's not going to go. And I'm going to take Mike Davis, who I really like as my as a flex option there. Todd Gurley in Atlanta in a very similar spot was a kind of a failure last year, fantasy-wise and real life.
Yeah.
But Davis has been a model of health. Has never had a season, even last year, not a season even remotely close to the workload that Gurley was getting back when he was the number 1 fantasy asset in the universe. I just think he fits Atlanta a little bit better than a Todd Gurley with 0 knees did. It's just a better fit. And at the end of the 5th round, I'm not putting too much investment into him. I can take a little bit of a risk with Carson being so stable there, unless he gets hurt. But yeah, it's going to be Davis. And then again, you kind of spoiled it a little bit, but it's going to be T. Higgins. And I know Deontay Johnson was still on the board. I know Odell's still on the board. I know Chase Claypool's still on the board. But for everything I'm hearing out of Cincinnati camp has been that Jamar Chase is just having a little bit of problems with separation, which was his biggest question mark. I know he was elite at the combine and elite in college, and someone who I absolutely loved in the NFL draft process. And I like the landing spot. Burrow wanted him. He's going to take him. People are going to complain about the lack of O-line, but it was a deep class at O-line, and they drafted, I don't remember exactly who, but they drafted a good O-lineman in the second round this year. It wasn't going to be a good O-line even if they drafted Penei Sewell, but I like that pick. But everything out of camp has been that he's not doing great, and you don't hear negative camp reports a whole lot in the NFL. So with Jamar potentially struggling, Burrow's going to be coming back. I just think T. Higgins is in line to be an absolute monster for this year in particular, for season-long drafts. And yeah, I think he sniffed 1,000 yards last year. Easily marked this year. Yeah.
And are
pulling up his stats.
Are you concerned at all with like Burrow, with what you're hearing from Burrow?
Oh, for sure. I'm concerned a little bit with Burrow, but I just everything I'm hearing even if Burrow's hurt, Higgins definitely performed without him. I don't think he was dependent necessarily on Burrow being there. It's just going to take another year of him coming together in the NFL, but I think he's a red zone beast, and he's just a really good player. Again, could bust, but I just think there's too much going right for him right now from what I'm hearing out of camp. So there's the pick.
Yep. Then after that, we got Devontae Smith, T.J. Hockenson, Juju, Deontay, and Michael Thomas. Now,
don't draft Michael Thomas at the 608. Just don't do it.
Yeah, I'm not, and that's just something I want no part of. Like 8th, 9th, whatever, but 608, I'm not about it. What I am about though is I'm looking at these receivers here, and we have two guys who could play a significant role in their offense. We have Chase Claypool, and we also have Cortland Sutton, and those are probably, well, we know Sutton's the alpha in Denver. He literally tore his ACL early in the season last year. He's going to come back stronger. The problem with Denver is that they have a lot of mouths to feed, but you could argue the same thing with Pittsburgh. But why I'm going to go with Chase Claypool here is because Chase Claypool's upside is just enormous. Now, I know he did end up getting hurt in that Hall of Fame game, but actually, wow, it looks like I get both the guys I was considering here. Actually, are there any other options on the board I'd consider? No, so before I take Sutton here, I'm going to talk a little bit about Claypool. His upside is just enormous, and I know that he made his name based off of like one game against the Eagles, but man, that shows you what he can do at the NFL level. And I think he's better than Deontay, because Deontay was terribly inefficient last year. And even though Deontay is an elite separator and elite target commander, man, I don't know what it is in my gut, but I just feel like Claypool is going to outscore Deontay this year, and he could take that next step into, mid, because last year he was a low-end wide receiver too, and that was with Big Ben not having an arm. And I know that they just added Najee Harris, but I think they're going to find ways to get Claypool the ball even more than they did last year. Anything about Claypool you want to comment on?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that analysis. Better than Deontay and better than Juju, who went ahead of both of them in this mock draft.
Oh, yikes.
You kind of see that a lot. Yeah,
Yikes,
exactly, yeah. I know, I was looking for him in the rankings. I was like, damn, Sleeper has it really low. And then I realized he's going 606 ahead of both of these guys. The Pittsburgh receivers, it's a little bit of a crapshoot, but yeah, if you're going to put your chips in one basket, or eggs in one basket, chips on one guy, it's going to be Chase Claypool. Just an elite athlete compared to the other two. Deontay Johnson's got good separation, but he's separating 6 yards down the field. And he'll get the target numbers, but it's Claypool, probably for the same reasons that it's T. Higgins, just absolute beasts, red zone monsters. I just think they have the most upside to provide in their respective offenses compared to the other guys there, and especially based on what you're hearing at a camp. Second-year guys, whereas different from Chase being a rookie and DJ and Juju being slightly more experienced, but these second-year guys, they were great as rookies, and there's no reason they should hold up. You see that progression from wide receivers, I think, more than any other positions.
Yeah.
You really start learning the route tree.
Yeah, and I know Pittsburgh's probably not going to throw the ball 50, 60 times a game, but like they did last year. Like, would you agree?
I would, but I think I think Juju's the one that's gonna hurt the most. And
Yes.
yeah, and even if they throw the ball less, I think Claypool's the one who's least target dependent. Like he doesn't need 9, 10 targets a game to put up big numbers.
Yep, I agree with you wholeheartedly. So I'm going to take the other guy I was considering here, Cortland Sutton. And I know they got a lot of mouths to feed in Denver. And who knows how this offense is going to be. The range of outcomes for this offense is literally like almost best in the league to like 0-16, like Houston and Detroit level. They're not going to be 0-16 because of their defense, but who knows how this offense is going to look. But what we do know is that Cortland Sutton is the alpha, and I know there's a lot of camp hype around about Jerry Jeudy. Every video we see from Jerry Jeudy is just absolutely ridiculous, and he was a great prospect last year. Even though Lamb and Ayuk broke out in big ways, I am still so glad that Judy's on our team. But Cortland Sutton had 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns with Brandon Allen, Joe Flacco, and Drew Lock throwing him the ball in 2019. We didn't get to see him in action last year because he ended up tearing his ACL, but I'm still happy I have Sutton on my team at the 704 because, it's easily 120, 130 targets, and he's just simply a monster.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about your pick, and you said a lot of mouths to feed in Denver. And what do you know? My top two options, and the guys I'm debating between are Fant and Jeudy
Yeah.
on the clock here. I'm a big fan of Jerry Jeudy. Great short route guy with Teddy Bridgewater there. I don't know if you as a Broncos fan think Locke might start. I think it'll be. Locke's so frustrating. Bridgewater's not frustrating. He's just the epitome of mediocrity.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw my 2 cents in. I do believe that Drew Lock will start week 1.
Okay, so that's where we differ. I think Bridgewater will start, and a significantly better short route guy in terms of throwing the football is Bridgewater than Locke. And that's where Jerry Jeudy excels. I had a few drop issues, but was also, I believe, bottom 3 in the NFL in catchable target rate among all wide receivers. So, it's going to be Jeudy here. I was debating Fant go off the board. Probably wouldn't have taken him anyway with the 2 Broncos.
Yeah, that's just a landmine I want no part of.
Yeah, and the tight end is going to hurt for me, but I'll wait later in the draft. And I've just been hammering wide receivers all day. I really want Jalen Waddle here, but I'll have some reserve with the already having four wide receivers versus 3 running backs. And I'm going to take Trey Sermon here, who I'm really excited about this year. Sort of similar to how we were feeling about J.K. Dobbins last year. Great run offense, and only has one guy ahead of him who's pretty old. I'm more confident in Raheem Mostert this year than I was in Mark Ingram last year, but it doesn't look like the fantasy community is. Ingram was going as high as the 4th round last year. You see Mostert at the 703 down there, and the Niners run the ball enough where they could both be a part of the offense, and Sermon's got the talent. It's hard not to make the comparison between him and Dobbins, both coming out of OSU. Pretty equally good running backs. Not as high draft capital as Dobbins got, but I'm excited for what he can do if he gets the shot behind that Niners O-line.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And there is a chance he does end up taking over the San Francisco backfield, and any starter in the San Francisco offense is immediately like you want them on your fantasy team. Like that's just how it is. Even if you could throw me out there and I'd still probably be like if I was announced as the starter, I'd probably be a 10th, 11th round fantasy pick just because I was in the San Francisco offense. But so there are really no more receivers I like on the board. We already have Ridley, Ayuk, Claypool, Sutton. So I think we're set for a little. I would maybe consider Antonio Brown here, But maybe do we want to bolster our RB3 spot? I mean, I just don't see any guys I like here. But I will tell you one guy I actually do kind of like here is Trevor Lawrence, because even though the 809 is traditionally not where I would take a quarterback in one of these leagues, you already know that Jacksonville is going to be behind all day, all game, every game. And if Minshew's the starter week one, which I know they're like debating as to whether or not Lawrence or Minshew will start, I don't believe so, because Lawrence is going, he was the first overall pick, and Urban Meyer is not going to want his draft picks to fail. So I think that immediately squashes any of that. And I know we have Lawrence and J-Rob, but I don't know. Something about the fact that Jacksonville is going to be throwing the ball all the time, and the fact that Trevor Lawrence has underrated rushing ability makes me feel, I'm not going to say comfortable taking him at the 809, but there was nobody I really liked here. I mean, maybe Stafford at quarterback, maybe Hurts at quarterback, but first of all, I think Jalen Hurts is just so bad. Ryan Tannehill, I mean, he's going to be explosive, but Derrick Henry is basically going to operate as who that offense revolves around. If they get any sort of lead, you already know it's going to be pounding with Henry. And Joe Burrow, man, I'm just not convinced with the injuries, with the injury buzz we've been hearing about. I'm just not convinced he's going to be, worth an 8th, 9th round one quarterback league pick. What do you think about Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, I like Trevor Lawrence. I think I'm more safe with my picks. I would have probably gone Stafford or Tannehill, and someone I'm hoping falls to the 9-11 between those two. But yeah, if you're going upside, there's really no better pick than Lawrence there. And I agree completely with what you said. If the debate was between Lawrence and Burrow for you, as it was in the sleeper rankings there, yeah, we saw the rookie quarterbacks last year, outside of Tua, both do really well in the starts they got, and there's no reason Lawrence shouldn't be able to do the same this year, even on a really bad Jacksonville team.
Yeah, and like I said, this is why you take your running backs early, because we're looking at Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, Nyheim Hines, Gus Edwards, Tony Pollard, Jamal Williams, Philip Lindsay, and
I probably would have taken Damian Harris at the 809. I was gonna say something about that.
I mean, the thing
That's
about
sort of the last starting running back.
Yeah, but the thing about Damian Harris is you just never know who it's going to be in New England, and with Super Cam, are we really trusting that offense to be good? Are you as a Patriots fan?
Nah, no.
I mean, there's a chance.
Harris showed some promise, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just not a fan of Moss or Singletary, because Allen's the RB1 there. Let's just be real; he's going to get all the high value touches. For me, it's between. I mean, I would be fine with Tunyon or Thomas here if I didn't already take a tight end, but who I'm actually going to take is Corey Davis, and I actually took him over Tyler Boyd. Now, full disclosure, I have not been a Corey Davis truther for as long as I've been following football, or more specifically Dynasty and Fantasy and the draft, because he was literally like the Joe Mixon of wide receivers for a while. From like 2017, 2018, 2019, we were just like, how long can he fool us? But you know what? He is going to be the wide receiver one on a team that is probably going to suck. Even though they just drafted Zach Wilson, even though I like the Salah hire, they're just not going to be very good. And he has a lot of upside due to the fact that they're just not going to be a good team. So that's going to lead to a lot of throwing opportunities. And they do play in a division with some pretty good secondaries. But you know what? In the 9th round, I'm fine with taking a guy who's presumably the wide receiver one on his team.
Yep. I'm going to take a pick in the at the 10:02 that is going to contradict everything you just said about Corey Davis. But first, I'm going to take Logan Thomas. He was the tight end 3 last year, and you just count everyone going off right here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, he's going off the board, tight end 11 in this draft, and ranked as tight end 12 behind Tunyon. There's just no reason that I see, he's ranked this low. Okay, the top 6 are the top 6 for a reason, but I don't know how you can come out of a draft with Logan Thomas this low in the draft and not feel at least somewhat decent about it. Now, his stats weren't great, but he's just going to be a go-to weapon for this Washington football team out there. Just a stable passing option, should catch a decent amount of touchdowns and just be sort of a guy that's always there in the middle of the field for them with Terry, Diami, and Curtis Samuel running around the field like madmen.
Yeah.
And my next pick, I said it would go against your last one, and it's going to be Elijah Moore in the 10th round.
Jesus
Corey
reincarnated.
Davis pegged as the wide receiver 1, but yeah, Jesus reincarnated Elijah Moore, dealing with a minor quad injury, but everything you hear about Elijah Moore coming out of camp is that you just want any piece of him you can get, and I don't think he was making it to the 11-11. There's just nothing really to say other than the talent is undeniable. It's been undeniable at Jets camp. They really like him. Even if Corey Davis is the wide receiver 1, I do think the way the modern NFL is coming up, I do think they're going to give Zach Wilson enough of a shot to be able to provide for 2 fantasy relevant receivers.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now at the 10:09, there's not a lot of good options here. Already have quite a few wide receivers. Already got our quarterback. So I am going to go with Gus Edwards because we know he's going to get fed his touches. Even though if you're a Dobbins owner, you do not like this guy. If you're a Dobbins owner, you do not like this guy because it just seems like even though he's not the best running back, he does everything, he does everything pretty solid that you would want from your backup running back. And if Dobbins goes down, Lord knows what's going to happen because whoever the Baltimore running back is besides Lamar is going to be wildly efficient.
Not really much to say about him that you didn't. Don't love him as a running back 3, probably more of an RB4, worst case, someone's injured, someone else is on bye. But the way your team's stacked up, you're probably fine with Gus Edwards on your bench most weeks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay,
plug and play. Hope he falls in the end zone.
Yeah, pretty much. Bye week. Let's see, J-Rob or Henry's bye week. Let's just hope that he just falls into the end zone. And man, it's taking everything in me right now to not draft Deshaun Watson because even with all the legal questions, we know what Deshaun Watson is when he is healthy, and that is something everyone wants a part of. I'm not sure how big a role morality plays into selecting your fantasy team. Me, I don't care, because if these NFL teams don't care, then why should I? And they're paying these guys millions of dollars. But, so our options right here are Deshaun. We also have Justin Fields on the board, Henry Ruggs, McCole Hardman. Don't really want any of those. And I'm actually going to take Tony Pollard because he is an elite handcuff. I know he's not an elite handcuff because of the fact that Zeke is almost never hurt. It's so hard to get him off the field. But when Zeke is off the field, Tony Pollard just seems to just be unreal. Maybe even sometimes look even better than Ezekiel Elliott himself.
Yeah. Even more talented than Zeke when they're on the field. I think for big stretches last year, for multiple games last year, there were times where you were debating, should the Cowboys be starting this guy? Now, obviously, they won't start Pollard over Zeke just because of the financial investment they have, but super talented guy, and if Zeke goes down, he's 25-point scorer probably.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Justin Fields here.
Okay.
We are a day or two removed from that insane preseason game he had, throwing the ball all over the field, rushed for or maybe three days removed. I don't know.
Yeah.
he rushed in for a touchdown, tossed a touchdown. I watched half that game, which was more than any other preseason game, and it was just because it was on. And he just looked really good. And I was excited about him in the draft process. This Bears offense, I think, gets a little bit more flack than it should, just because of the QBs they've had in the past, just not really doing it. I think Matt Nagy's a good coach, and I think he finally has the talent at QB to get it done. And if Fields sucks, I think we're ready to write off the Bears as never gonna win another Super Bowl unless they can reincarnate their 1985 defense.
Yeah.
Because if this guy can't make it work out in Chicago, no one can. But we have some questions about Justin Fields. I really like Trey Lance here, but they've got the same question: is are they going to be the Week 1 starter? And you don't want to draft two guys, even if I really like both of them, where they're just not going to have a shot at starting Week 1. So I'm going to go back to the wide receiver spot, and all we want is upside here. I'm probably going to take my QB2 in the last round if I'm feeling like it. But you're just taking shots, and with Michael Thomas out, you just heard nothing but good things about Marquez Callaway. Not ranked to be drafted in this draft, by the way. And we're doing 13 rounds, no defense, no kicker, so a pretty standard 12-man draft. And there's no reason why he shouldn't be the wide receiver 1. And with a big game Jameis or even Taysom Hill throwing the ball, he's going to be the top targeted player in this offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is a guy that has been he could be the wide receiver version of J-Rob, just absolutely coming out of nowhere, low team investment, but just blows everybody away. Because what we've heard is Elijah Moore-esque coming out of New Orleans as far as Callaway. And what you didn't do, your last pick is what I'm going to do. So there are a few guys I like here, but I am actually going to hit double quarterback. Lawrence at the 809, was it the best value? No, I don't think so. But you look at the guys that went after him, and I'm just there's nobody I really would have wanted. But Trey Lance. Now, Trey Lance isn't going to start immediately. But once he does, we get that nice Lance Ayuk stack. And I think Trey Lance is going to be phenomenal. Y'all really let Kyle Shanahan get his hands on this guy who went 28-0 in one of his seasons in college. So we're going to actually take Trey Lance right here. And then, damn, my pick got snagged. My last round pick got snagged. Yep. So even though I wanted Rondale more, that's completely fine. I'm completely fine with him getting sniped. I'm not upset. I swear. But we're gonna go with Terrace Marshall because he just lit it up his first preseason game, and they have Robbie Anderson. They also have DJ Moore in front of him. But you know what? Curtis Samuel is gone, and he looked phenomenal his first preseason game. All we're doing is taking shots with those guys who could potentially win your league for you. And yeah, I was going to go Rondale, but I'm not upset with Marshall here.
Yeah, and I really would have liked Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just pick someone up off waivers to start Week 1 for you.
Yeah.
I'm still going with that. I was going to say I was still going with that philosophy, but there's legit nobody here that I would even like to take. Maybe I will just take a quarterback. All these QBs, they're facing good defenses, though. Week 1, Tua's going up against Patriots. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to San Fran. Daniel Jones
against the Broncos
is playing. He's playing in Denver.
Then Derek Carr going against
Raiders
the Ravens. Now Zach
Wilson, Baltimore, and then Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Zach Wilson's going up against.
The pick is Zach Wilson because
he's going against Carolina.
I mean, yeah, he's going to be the Week 1 starter. This is where I would have loved to have gotten Tannehill or Stafford up in that 9th round. I probably would have taken one of them. Hoped I could have gotten Logan Thomas or Tunyon. And then I love Elijah Moore, but you can do without that receiver and just take the receiver later. But it is what it is. and this isn't really because I like him, but it's because I think I might need a week 1 starter, and it's going to be Zach Wilson. But yeah, to talk more about your picks before we wrap it up, I love Trey Lance, and the only reason I didn't take him at 12:02 was for the reason that there's, as much as I like Fields, as much as I think he should start week 1, there's a chance he doesn't, and you just don't want that risk on your fantasy team, and you definitely, in a 1 QB league, you really don't want to be rostering 3 quarterbacks at a time if you can help it. And if neither of them started week 1, that's probably what I'd have to do with this roster. So that just wasn't really an option. And Terrace Marshall, I really liked him. Would have loved him at the 13-11. Would have loved Amon-Ra St. Brown just with the shot at being the likely wide receiver 1 candidate in Detroit. But it was not to be, and I'm perfectly fine with this draft.
Yeah, I'm fine with my draft too. So to wrap it up, Lawrence, Henry, J-Rob, Ridley, Ayuk, Waller, Claypool, Sutton, Corey Davis, Gus Edwards, Tony Pollard, Trey Lance, Terrace Marshall for me. And then we go to Eric's team, and we got Justin Fields, Antonio Gibson, Chris Carson, Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Logan Thomas, Mike Davis, T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy, Trey Sermon, Elijah Moore, Marquez Callaway, and Zach Wilson. You got any closing thoughts you want to say before we wrap up this mid-August edition of the Kodiak Mock Draft?
Yeah, I think this is a good start to these mock drafts. We should hopefully do some more as the summer progresses. ADPs get even a little bit more sharper as we know more about these players. And I don't think either one of us drafted perfectly by any means. You will likely see one of us taking 2 running backs to start in the draft just to switch it up and see how it goes, especially Alex ending up with Gus Edwards as his RB3 in this one. But yeah, a good productive mock draft. Hope you guys saw some things from our experiences and learned a little bit from our explanations.
Yep. All right, that is going to do it for the video. Thank you, Eric, as always, for coming on and doing this with me. All right, have a good day. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already. Have a good day, and peace out.